Today we're going to talk about facing failure together. Facing failure is an ongoing struggle for myself, for my peers, and for all of those that are looking to improve and to better themselves educationally, professionally, and personally. We're going to face failure today with 3 concepts that we're going to keep in mind. 1 is combating failure. 2 is overcoming failure. And 3 is learning from failure. So how do we learn to live with failure? The truth is, we don't. We're choosing from this moment forward to not live with failure. So then, how do we learn to combat failure? First, we learn how to tolerate it. Second, we learn how to cope with failure. And thirdly, we learn how to embrace it and how to grow from it. Facing failure means training the mind to eliminate self-doubt. Eliminating self-doubt means no matter what happens, you are going to succeed. What this doesn't mean is that failure will not happen. When failure occurs, you problem solve and find a way to overcome it. You tolerate it, you cope with it, and then you learn how to embrace it and how to grow from it. Failure is not the end of the road. Sure, it is a roadblock. Maybe it's a wall that you have hit. If you have hit a wall, then you find a hammer and you start to chisel your way through it. So let's talk more about this hitting a wall type of failure in a very literal sense. Identify why you have failed. There's a wall there. Figure out how this failure is not going to stop you from achieving your overall success. Are you going to go through the wall? Are you going to go over the wall? Are you going to go around it? Make your choice. What is your plan of action? And what is your game plan? Failure is not the end of the adventure. Some examples of people who could have given up at their first failure, but they didn't. Steve Jobs, he had a failing company months from bankruptcy. He chose to reevaluate the company and change their focus to innovation. That came out with success. Michael Jordan was told he did not have the height or the skills to be a basketball player in high school. We all know how that story ends, and that ends with success. Bill Gates, he watched his first company crumble before he was inspired to look into new ideas. Walt Disney was fired from a job at a newspaper due to his lack of creativity. And J.K. Rowling was at rock bottom with no job and a shoebox full of ideas about a novel of wizards that was already turned away by 3 publishers. These are all success stories. These examples all tell a different story. However, they all have the same outcome: success. Failure is nothing but a slight roadblock. Failure is nothing if you know how to handle it. How are you going to overcome failure? My uncle taught my cousins and I this technique that he would use in all aspects of our lives. This technique was to improvise, adapt, and to overcome. He would use it in odd places growing up that would frustrate us. For example, if we couldn't find the right clothes for our dolls, improvise, adapt, and overcome was his response every single time. If we ran out of chocolate milk for our mix, his response, improvise, adapt, and to overcome every time. You can imagine the look on a 5-year-old's face when this is the response you get when you have lost your doll's clothes and you have no mix for your chocolate milk. Pretty heartbreaking. Running out of Ovaltine was heartbreaking for us as children, and even now at the age of 23. He did this to challenge us at a young age to problem solve. He did this to allow our minds to be trained to improvise, adapt, and to overcome. I challenge you now to think about failure. So you have failed. For example, maybe you failed a class. Improvise. What changes do you need to make to come out successful? Adapt. How can you reassess your plan and try something new? Overcome. One failure does not mean overall, immediate, and imminent failure. Analyze the situation and figure out how to overcome the obstacle. Regardless of the failure, you can always create a new plan and shoot for a new goal. Improvise, adapt, and overcome failure. I learned this great phrase a few weeks ago that I loved so much, I wrote it out and listed what it means to hang in my office at work. This phrase is to be a learning evangelist. What does it mean to be a learning evangelist? Well, primarily, it means 4 things. 1, always recognize the importance of learning. Even in failure, it is extremely important that you choose to learn from it. Make that choice. 2, create the environment that you have the ability and the need to learn. Surround yourself with positivity and recognize the resources that you have. 3, strengthen yourself as a leader. Continue to learn from failure so that you are better prepared for future challenges. Be innovative. Be creative when you are overcoming obstacles. Don't walk the same path as everyone else, and be your own person and create your own ideas. 3 concepts I want you to keep in mind today as you look towards training your mind and overcoming failure. The first, you're going to train the mind to tolerate it, to cope with it, to learn from it, and to grow from it. The second, you're going to train the mind to improvise, adapt, and to overcome. And the third, you're going to train the mind to be a learning evangelist. I read an article once that said it can take people anywhere from 21 to 66 days to form a new habit. This is 3 to 8 weeks. This is 1 to 2 months. Set a goal for yourself in the next 2 months to train your mind and make overcoming failure a habit. I hope you come out of this ready for your next big failure and confident that you have the ability to overcome it.